Welcome to Heart on the Altar, a podcast where nothing is withheld and it's all for His glory. I'm your host, Brittani, and welcome back to another week. I hope you are surviving and thriving. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. If you are watching or listening, this episode, I don't know where it's going to take us. Just before I got on, I was just weeping my little eyes out. So if you're watching, my eyes are a little red. You can hear the little stuff in my nose. I was thinking about even how to open today's episode because I really could go like two different ways, right? We're in Colossians, we're wrapping up chapter 3. And this one, I'm like, sometimes I tell you all the time, I go like, ooh, how am I going to present this? But today what caught my attention is even the opening phrase, Heart on the Altar, a podcast where nothing is withheld and it's all for His glory. And even before this, I'm like, what does it mean like nothing is withheld? And I think it more for me when it's like a heart on the altar, it's like, God, there's nothing held back from you. It's like the pain, the uncertainty, the frustration, the whys, the what ifs. And I'm not sure what season of life you're in right now. I know there's some people that you are on the mountaintop. You have never felt so close to Jesus. You're walking on sunshine. And there are some of you who are like, I'm in an absolute pit and there's no way out. And then there's the rest of us who might be like, and I mean, not like the rest of us, the other people. I'm like, am I putting myself in the rest of us? Um, then there's who are like, oh, got it. You rescued me out of situation, and now I need to be dependent on you again in a very big way. And this idea of faith, this idea of walking with God, no matter how hard your heart breaks, no matter how much pressure you're in, um, no matter how much you want to hide. That's where I'm at today. The real of fully His, and nothing withheld. That's actually a really hard thing to do. To be completely God's, to really turn over everything to Him. And to show Him my heart posture, to show Him my disbelief, to show Him my, like, what are you doing kind of heart. That's where I'm at. So if you are wondering, because I know you were just thinking before you even started this podcast, I wonder how Brittany's doing. She must be walking on sunshine. Oh, well, I am. I have the joy of the Lord in my soul. I know that I have salvation in Him. I know that He loves me. I'm working through that I am not His employee. I am His daughter, and He desires me. That is something new I'm doing, but today was hard. And I almost didn't want to record. And that's why I started thinking about just thinking about what I say here every week. A heart on the altar is a heart that is fully His, nothing withheld. That I said this last time or one time or whenever I've said it. This podcast isn't about me. I mean, it's about me because I'm the host and you only can hear my stories when it's just me. But my whole goal is that God gets the glory. And this will be a story that I will share that you're going to be like, man, I wonder what she's talking about. It's not my story to share. I'm just majorly affected by it. And yeah, I'm just a little rocked today. And it's appropriate for Colossians because one of my favorite verses right now has been Colossians 1:17. He is above all things and He holds all things together. And I often ask myself, do I believe that? Do you ask that question at times in some of your darkest moments? Do I really believe that He holds all things together? Do I really believe that everything on earth is subject to Him? Do I really believe that he is a healer, a comforter? Do I really believe who he says he is? That question, I hope you're feeling the weight of that question, because it's okay to say, "No, I kind of don't believe that." I need to lean into my faith. I need to walk by faith and say, God, this is who your word says you are. And I'm just going to read it because maybe I just need it for myself. And maybe this whole episode's just for me. So I apologize in advance because we are talking about the family. So skip it if you like. But let me tell you, I'm just going to keep going. That's all I got. Okay. So in Colossians, like I said, I'll start at verse 16 and I'm going to read 17 just because it's so good. For everything was created by him in heaven and on earth, the invisible and visible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authority, all things had been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and by him all things hold together. He is our every breath. It is Psalms 91. I rest securely under the safety of his wings. It is Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. It is Isaiah 26:3-5, I think, or 5-6. He gives perfect peace to those whose minds are steadfast on him because we trust him. This is me. This is me saying I need to continue to recite those verses and meditate on those verses. And I really hope I'm not alone, friends. I hope that on the other side, you're sighing a deep relief like, oh, it's not just me. It's not just me who is having a hard time holding on. It's not just me trying to make sense of what is God doing? Why does it feel like I've endured this battle and then I hit another one? Why does it feel this way? Those are great questions to ask in the presence of the Lord. They're scary questions to ask outside of his presence, outside of his direction, because then the voices that I'm listening to are not of him. The voices I'm listening to are my selfish desires, my anger, my bitterness, my unforgiveness, all of the above. So if I can just say, I'm just a regular girl here trying to live my life faithfully, and there are moments that I just want to lay down and give up. But what I know for sure, what I can say with absolute confidence, is that God is good. He is so good. And getting into his word only fuels the flame of remembering how good he is. And for me, studying it and teaching it, gosh, let me run a victory lap, not like a real lap that I actually have to sprint and that I just want to run the victory lap with my medal and say, God, you're so good. And then there's a nice Snickers bar that's been in the freezer for a couple of days that I can just sink my teeth into. That is exactly where I'm at right now. That it is so hard. But I thank God that he has his overwhelming grace, his peace, his joy, and I don't have to hold all this alone. So if you are trying to hold a very heavy situation, a big decision, a relationship you have no business in, you're trying to maybe overcome an addiction, maybe you are trying to leave a relationship you're not supposed to be in, maybe you are trying to just shut your mouth and stop gossiping or lashing out in anger, maybe you're just supposed to keep it simple and walk with Christ every single day. And what that might look like is reading a simple scripture, inviting him into your everyday routine by praying, by thanking him in gratitude that you have the breath in your lungs because he's in control of it all. Whatever that might look like for you, I want you to know you are not alone. Brother, sister, you are not alone. Saints, right? We are saints because we believe. We believe in who Jesus is. And so therefore, we are in community. And so I love you. This episode I might just watch for myself. I might not even listen to it. I don't know. At this point, I'm just like, okay, God. But let's get to business. It made me think of the Mulan movie. Let's get down to business to defeat Satan. That's actually where I'm going with that one. Because as we get into today, we're in Colossians 3:18, and we're going to go to 4:1. The skepticism of even talking about marriage and family and slaves, because that's what we're going to read today. I'm like, man, I really try to do this in 30 minutes. I have really long intros because, as you see, I just gabbed for a good 10 minutes. I don't know. And here I am bringing you guys the word, right? I'm not an expert by any means. I do my due diligence. I study, I pray, I really desire God to use me. But I do need you guys to get into your word and fact check me, make sure that you're reading it for yourself and I ain't just saying some crazy stuff over here. But also I do want you to know that as we walk through this, there might be more questions than answers as we talk about this. And I'm inviting you to DM me. If I don't have the answer, guess what? Texting my pastor. He don't have the answer. I don't know where he finds his answer from, but maybe the Holy Spirit would just whisper it in his ear and he will tell me, okay? So whatever you might, whatever questions you might have, like so seriously, I would love to hear them. I would love to hear maybe what you're going through, if you're going through something heavy. If you need prayer for overcoming an addiction, you need community accountability. Let's do this together as a Heart on the Altar community. I'm serious about this, guys. I just have to get past this day and work this Saturday, and then we are digging in to what summer will look like as a community and what God's going to do here. So, thank you for my rabbit trail again. Let's get into the word. Okay, so Colossians chapter 3, verse 18. Wives, submit yourselves to your husbands as it is fitting to the Lord. Husband, love your wife and don't be bitter towards them. Children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord. Fathers, do not exasperate your children so that they won't become discouraged. Slaves, obey your human masters in everything. Do not only Lord, let's start that again. Slaves, obey your human masters in everything. Don't work only while being watched, as people pleasers do, but work wholeheartedly, fearing the Lord. Whatever you do, do it from the heart as something done for the Lord and not for people, knowing that you will receive the reward of an inheritance from the Lord. You serve the Lord Christ. For the wrongdoer will be paid back for whatever wrong he has done, and there is no favoritism. Masters, deal with your slaves justly and fairly, since you know that you too have a master in heaven. Okay. I mean, what? You want a lot of things to talk about? Here we are. So, as we even look at this scripture, I know for some of us, who are wives or women, especially right now in 2026, it's like, I'm a ladies who pray, throw your hands about me. If you don't know that song, it's a Destiny's Child song. It's really about independence, I'm a strong, independent woman, okay? That is great. Great. There is nothing wrong with having opinions, thoughts, ideas. And so often when we approach this verse, many times it's like, what do you mean submit to my husband? What does that mean that I have to, am I supposed to not have opinions or anything? So I want to walk through this, especially partially because this is a beautiful lesson for if you are married or if you want to be married. This is important to know. We're going to talk about the husbands. We're going to go all in. So wives, submit yourself to your husbands as is it fitting in the Lord. So what I love here, it talks about wives, husbands, children, and slaves. So the first thing we need to know is Paul is addressing the family dynamic. Okay, so it starts with the family. He's addressing the people in the home. And right now, what scholars, when I studied, they said the reason why they mentioned women first was because in this time, women were finding this independence, and there was just they didn't know what to do with it. I don't know about y'all, but have you ever seen a kid and there's candy and they just keep consuming it and they're like, "Ooh, this is so good. I'm so glad I can have it." And they can have more and more and more and more and more and more and more. What do they do? They're hyped. They're ready. But on the other side of that, there is an overstimulated parent who is just like, why? Why go and sit down? It can be a little hard to deal with really strong personalities, really strong opinions, and having a loud voice in the way. So don't hear me if you hear me saying like women should shut up. That is not what I'm saying here. I'm saying the heart posture behind what we do and why we do it. Because when it talks about here, when it says submit yourselves to your husband, the words like submission is to arrange under rank. When we think about how God has created the family, our culture would be different if fathers were in the home and they were the head of household. And we're going to get into a little bit of what that looks like as well. But when we look at what is being communicated here, faith in Jesus does not just change you, it changes the whole home. So everything up until this point, Paul is reminding us who Christ is. What has he done for us? What is our identity what is our identity? So how does this deal with our everyday life is what we're dealing with here. God has called us. He's allowed people to be married, right? There are some singles, but you can still practice these things because we need to submit to leadership. We need to submit to the government, even though you don't like them. I'm not saying you must like the government, okay? So, wives, submit yourselves to your husbands as as it is fitting in the Lord. So, as we think about right here, when we think about submission, it does not mean you are the weaker vessel. Submission does not mean, and the example that was used in what I read was a soldier and a colonel. They're two human beings. One is not better than the other. It is just a different position, right? So your husband, the position that your husband has, he is called to love you like Christ loves the church. It is a different thing that he calls. When he calls us to submit, it means we are aware that his position in the family is important. We need a father in the home. I work in the foster area. My nonprofit deals with foster youth. I can tell you 10 out of 10 times an absent father, an abusive father, a checked out father is why these kids are in the situations they're in. It's heartbreaking. Or it's women who have chosen to overextend their dominance and X the husband out, X the partner out, X the dad out because you ain't good, you gotta go. And their child suffers because of it. I'm being very generic here, so I do want you guys to understand that, but I want to drive home the dynamics that we're living in right now in today's culture to help understand this specific thing. Submission is not weak, submission is strength. To be able to pray for our husbands, to be able to look them in the eye, to advise, to give our opinion, our thoughts, to learn to trust them. All of that is not weakness. Weakness is listening with no opinion and letting someone trample over you. That is weakness. Strength is saying, okay, I'm going to choose to trust you. I'm going to choose to support you. I'm going to love you, even when blank. So I'm challenging my wives here, the wives, if you are a wife, however you want to put that. How are you showing up in your own marriage? I know I have not shown up great sometimes. I have very selfish ambitions. I want it my way. I want it done my way. I want to be thanked. I want to be seen. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. There are a lot of opinions I have. I want him to parent the way I parent. I want him to talk the way I talk. And when I remember that we are two different people in a family unit that have two different roles, it's important that I start understanding my role here. And my role is not little. My role is big. I am the one who carried my children. I am the one who nurtures them. That is my job. And so the husbands, they also have a job. Um, and I do want to say it does not mean like submission often is like women, we have this idea that that makes us less, right? It does not. Men are not better because we are submissive. Men will be better when we support, when we love, when we bring wisdom. Those are things that we offer. And so I hope I'm saying this right, but this is what the scripture says, okay? Now we're going to the father. Husbands, love your wives and don't be bitter towards them. I love that these are like one sentences because I'm like, please don't keep going on. Okay. Also, I'm so sorry. Going back. So, wives, submit yourself to your husbands as it is fitting in the Lord. How often do we bring our attitude to the Lord? Come on, women. How often we bring our issues to God? Come on. How often do we bring him in prayer to the Lord? Say it again. I don't always. And I'm going to tell you, when I don't pray, when I'm in the middle of argument, it looks very different. And not because he is winning. Because we have this whole winning and losing thing in arguments. That's not what that is here. And so I just had to put that there as fitting in the Lord. Do everything for his glory. Even how I have a disagreement. Even when I'm frustrated. Even when I don't wanna, I bring it to the Lord. That is a mark of a woman who is honoring her husband. Okay. Husbands, love your wives and don't be bitter towards them. So men have the responsibility and headship in the home. And so what is headship? Headship is not dictatorship. What I say goes. Like, has anyone ever been frustrated? My friends who are males, have you ever been frustrated? Maybe your wife keeps asking you questions, your kids keep asking you questions, why? And you just, because I said so. Is that position of how you're coming from the Lord? Probably not. How do you disciple your family? So headship is not dictatorship. It's loving leadership. How do you lead your family well? And there are some great teachings on what does it look like for men to lead the family. There's some great pastors who are teaching about how the household should be. And when I look at this, husband, love your wives. Love here is this, it's the agape love, the love of Christ. This is what I was talking about when in another place it says, how I think it's in Colossians. No, this is Colossians, Corinthians, somewhere in the Bible. It says, like, husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church. And when it's saying that, like Christ loved the church, what did Christ do for the church? Christ died for the church. And so when we're talking here, this is why women, we should be proud we just submitting, because you know what men have to do? They have to deal with me, okay? My poor husband, I love him. Husbands have the responsibility of loving their wife, a sacrificial and serving love that Christ shares with his church. So it means sacrificing, have me time, but y'all know when me time goes a little too long. When we're ready to explode because we don't understand, or maybe you don't know how to articulate what you're trying to say and it's frustrating. Maybe your wife is just going on and on and on and on and on, and you just want it to stop. How are we doing that? Are you doing that in a loving way? And what I love here, and it says, and don't be bitter towards them. And I'm telling y'all, this is studied. So this is not just me saying I've learned this in my 9 years of marriage. This is me studying, God, how do you want me to honor you in my marriage? Because I feel like this is one of the biggest journeys I've ever been on, because it is showing me what type of sacrifices it takes. Love is not just like when you just first get married and you're just like, oh my God, that is so cute, and I just want to spend the rest of my life with you. When you are angry with each other, when y'all are getting on each other's last nerve, when you have different desires, when someone gives more in a season and the other doesn't, it creates friction. So here it's a warning for husbands. It's saying they must be careful not to harbor ill will towards their wives because of something they did or didn't do. So it's saying, husbands, don't get bitter. Maybe you told her to do something, she didn't do it. Maybe she's not performing in the way you want her to perform. I don't know what it might be. I'm not a male, so I really can't get in your mind, and I'm not going to pretend. But I hope God is making this clear to you. How do you not harvest bitterness towards your wife? How do you love her and give her everything she needs so that submission is absolutely easy? When a woman feels loved and secure, when she knows she is seen, watch out, world, okay? Because a woman like that, she's better able to care for her kids, to serve her church, take care of herself. And that would create less friction in a marriage. This is what's so hard in a marriage. We're always fighting against each other, and it started from the beginning, okay? This all started from Genesis. When God intended for family, He intended for us to cohabitate and multiply and be fruitful and fill the earth, right? This is all from the beginning. So this is nothing new. But what is new is sin, our selfishness, our selfish desires. Oh, I got to speed this up. Okay. So husbands, love your wives and don't be bitter towards them. So the root of bitterness in a home can poison a marriage, a relationship, and give Satan a foothold. So this goes for everyone, right? If we allow bitterness into our hearts, if we allow it to fester, this is why he says, don't let the sun go down on your anger. It's hard to talk about things. And I know for most men, not all men, it's hard to talk about your feelings. It's hard to articulate them. And I know there are some women who we hear 2 words out of your articulation and lost, gone with the wind. We've taken another direction. You know how many conversations I had? And Angel's like, I never said that. And I'm like, yes, no, you didn't, I guess. I guess that was a conversation I was having with myself 3 times before I even brought it to your attention. This is real. This is real life. But what we have to realize is we cannot give the enemy a foothold in our marriages, in our relationships. This can apply to anyone. If you are wanting to be married, if you desire to be loved by another human being in a way of holy matrimony, okay? We can start this process now, learning our triggers, learning how to communicate, learning to set boundaries. All of this, learning to identify when you are starting to have bitterness, looking at yourself and saying, God, search my heart. Help me work through this. Okay. A healthy marriage does not come automatically. It is something to be worked on. Divorce is high. You all know it. Some of you have been divorced. Some of you might be right in the middle of it. It's absolutely heartbreaking. I have been on the other side of divorce as a child with divorced parents, as a wife in a blended family. Divorce is absolutely ugly and disgusting, and no one can tell me otherwise. It's hard. Marriages are hard, but it's easier if you take the small steps right inside of it to lay your selfishness aside, to invite God into it, to really be honest about where you're at. How do you have honest conversations in truth and in love? Did you hear that? Truth and in love. Some of y'all just like all truth. And the love is like, you don't need to love. You annoyed me. You frustrated me. Why should I show you love? Because Christ showed you love, sucker. Okay? That is my thing. And I got to move on. Okay. So as it goes on, it says, children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord. Don't hear me say if your parents are asking you to do something illegal, that does not please the Lord. Children, obey your parents. Parents are trying to teach their children good values, right? They're trying to instill in them. And I'm only speaking about Christian homes, okay? I'm speaking about people that are trying to be intentional about making well-discipled children. I can't speak to outside because I just can't, because like, who Paul's speaking to is Christian families, okay? So when he's talking, children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord. This is as I'm teaching my 6-year-old, almost 7-year-old, who makes me want to pull my hair out sometimes, to not talk back, to not mock me. Children, obey your parents, okay? Like, that's what I'm meaning. I am trying to instill values in my son that when he goes out into the real world, he is not swallowed because I let him walk over me, that he is respectful, that he understands different cultures, that he understands how to speak to people, how to look people in the eye, how to apologize. These are things that are my responsibility, my husband's responsibility to teach our kids. So when it's saying here, children, obey your parents in everything, for it pleases the Lord. Here it is, like, it is telling kids, like, obey. This is what we say: obey right away, and we can have a conversation about it. But you gotta listen, okay? And also, I just want to say, for the parents who don't want to discipline their kids because they want to be the friend, maybe you have adult children and you cared more about them liking you, or maybe you are currently with small children and you suffered trauma and you don't know how to discipline them in the right way because you feel like you might be going overboard or it's triggering for you. Get some help, look around. Who are some parents that you see that you're like, "Ooh, you're doing something right. I don't know what you did, but those suckers, they ain't perfect. But let me tell you, they're sweet, they're kind." When I look at my pastor's kids, I use him because he's the best example, and I know he's okay with me using as my example for a lot of things. When I look at them, I've known them for so long, and I absolutely adore them. What I love about them, neither one of them, it's not like they're perfect, they're fake, they're fluffy, they're doing they are doing their thing, experiencing life. And I get to witness parents who pray over their kids, invite them into, as they make mistakes, correct coaching and directing, because they're in a different season of life, right? And I see their kids serving alongside of them. To me, that's an identifier. Oh, pay attention. That's something I want. I want my kids to love to be around me. I want my kids to know that I'm a safe place that they can fail, but they know their mama's always praying. That is something I'm watching the people around me that I'm like, oh, okay, I need to learn from that. I just wanted that little caveat there. Don't know why, but you're welcome. Fathers, do not exacerbate your children so that they won't become discouraged. Remember, your kids ain't perfect. What a father says, it sticks. The words you use, the tone you use, you're not perfect, but an apology, that goes so much farther than anything. And so here it's like, I know when I see my kids discouraged because maybe we're being impatient, I might be overstimulated. But here it's calling for fathers, do not exacerbate your children so that they won't become discouraged. Slow down. Learn how to talk to your kids if you don't know how to talk to your kids. You don't have to do it perfectly. I promise you, making an effort that goes so much farther, and apologizing to your kids when we do kind of crush them, because guess what? The whole world's going to crush them. The enemy's out for their soul. Don't let you be the bad guy too. I'm sorry. I'm just on one. I don't even know if all this is correct. Just kidding. I did study, but yeah. Okay. Slaves, obey your human masters in everything. Do not work only while being watched as people pleasers, and but wholeheartedly fearing the Lord. Whatever you do, do it in the heart. Okay. So pausing there. In this time, slaves have been normal. They're like house slaves. If you think about it, like, it's hard to think about it right now because when I think back to slavery, I'm thinking about history and I'm thinking about Africa and all that stuff. I don't know. I know when I'm studying this section's hard for different contexts of people. In this context, from a couple of the theologians and things that I've read, this is a normal thing. These families would have had people who were not just like, I don't know what kind of slaves you picture, but think of them as the nanny, as the cook, as the cleaner, as the taking care of the farm. Think of it in that sense. So when he's saying these things and he goes on and he's saying, hey, even as you serve this family, you're part of this family unit. I'm talking to you because obviously they are hearing this. Don't just work while being watched. Do everything for the Lord. And then he does say here, knowing that you will receive an award and inheritance from the Lord. If you were a slave, you're not receiving any inheritance, most likely. You're working off either debt, this is the livelihood that they have. This becomes the family that they have, because I don't know about you, if you've ever had a nanny, a babysitter, they become a part of your family. And I know this is a little weird because it's slaves, but I'm just giving you the best way I can explain it, okay? All right. You serve the Lord Christ. So yes, you have an earthly master. You are accountable to someone. So think about this as you're an employee. You have a boss that you're required to serve, but he is not your Lord. But you still should do your job, right? And you should do it knowing that God is watching. And so this is how he's explaining to these slaves. And he says, for the wrongdoer will be paid back for whatever wrong he has done, and there is no favoritism. Masters, deal with your slaves justly and fairly, since you know that you do not have that you too have a master in heaven. So he's saying to the masters, first he's saying to the slaves and those who treat the slaves poorly, they will not be overlooked. Wrongdoers will be paid back for wrong, because remember, if we believe who God says he says he's a God of justice. He hates evil. Those who have treated their slaves poorly and they're calling themselves Christians, and this would have been normal in their context, he's saying that will not go unseen. And he's calling them out. Masters, deal with your slaves justly and fairly, since you know that you too have a master in heaven. So even how you treat the people, not only the family, but the people that work for you, know that you will be held accountable for that, because you are a reflection of your heavenly Father. I don't know about you, but that literally, I was like, well, that's all I got for them today, because it's just that good. I asked the questions. Where do we get the power to submit? Where do we get the power to sacrifice? Where do we get the power to just believe that God deserves our very best? And no matter what circumstance, no matter what relationship, it doesn't matter what they did, it doesn't matter what she did. Who are you called to be? And is it obedient to Christ? That's what he invites us into. And so who has the power to help us submit? Jesus. Who has the power to help us sacrifice? Jesus. Who has the power to help us overcome? Jesus. Okay, so why does this matter? Why am I saying this? What is this? What is this? If we start with the home, a lot of us want to start changing the world. We want to go to the so-and-so country. We want to have the biggest business. We want to blow up on social media, but your home life is an absolute freaking wreck. Let's start at home first. Let's first start with you and God. Then let's start with how you treat your spouse. Then how about your kids? And then how about those around you? Let it be a ripple out of the time you spend with the Lord, that you can't help but see that other person in his lens. Guys, that is a big challenge. I feel like I bring big challenges every week, because I'm like, dang, why you got to ask so much of us? But you'll help me, because you have the power to do just that. So why does this matter? If you are single, guess what? You can't have a healthy marriage. You can also still have a relationship with God right now and have that community with him, with others. You can still serve. There's so much to do. Before they used to, people used to look down on singles. Now I feel like everyone's like, ooh, I wish I was single. Look at me. I'm in a marriage. This is a lot of work. I don't even like this person. Boy, go sit down. Okay. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. So you guys, we went through a lot today, and I'm going so over time. So I hope that you heard. This is what I hope you heard. So if you got all through this and you like ready to fight me, okay? I'm already having a bad day. But really what my hope would be is that you walk away with understanding that we can invite God into our everyday moments. The extraordinary moments where I'm sitting on the stage, where I'm teaching a message, where I'm sitting in front of a camera, those moments, yes, I'm inviting him into, but how much more important it is for me to invite him into when I'm about to yell at my kids, when I'm feeling overstimulated, when I'm feeling like everything's going wrong, when my husband is annoying me, when I am feeling this bitterness and anger towards him and I want to now act out on it. Maybe I have been hurt by someone close to me and I want to go hard on them. Whatever it might be, maybe you're harvesting bitterness, unforgiveness, maybe you're being prideful. I don't know what it is, but my hope was that you would be here to hear that once you invite God into it, he is able, he is willing, he desires you and you alone, and that he can work through that. He can break through the scar tissue. He can heal the oozing, goozy wound, the severed arm. Guess what? I saw it's a Bible story where the ear got hit off and cut off and he put it back on. He can do it. Amen. He can do it. Won't he? He will. So I just would invite you into that. Where do you need to submit? Where do you need to love? Where do you need to leave down bitterness? Maybe where do you need to listen and lean in? Maybe where do we need to start showing up better, knowing that we are actually a representation, an image of Christ? I don't know, guys. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm probably gonna go cry a little bit while I listen to this again. So like, share, subscribe. I don't know if that's the perfect place to put it, but there you go. Okay, like, share, and subscribe. It helps, and I really do want to hear from you guys. Reach out, tell me what hit you in this episode the most, the least. Sorry, my nose is stuffy. I would love to have you guys back next week. And if you're not, that's cool too. Remember, a heart on the altar is a heart that is fully his, nothing withheld, and it's all for his glory. I will see you next week.